ASCET, which stands for African Economic Community Development of New England, as usual, is extremely privileged and honored to bring to you the content of a special event that took place at Harvard University on November 29th. Throughout the evening, for the next 1 hour that is, I'll be interacting with the text itself. The text is a special number produced by one of the leading journals in the country by the name of Socialism and Democracy, which devoted a special engagement with the African continent and the conditions of human being there through a special title that it gave to this event called Democracy, Philosophy, and Social Movements in Africa. And should I say, the editor is your host, Dr. Theodros Kiros, in collaboration with Victor Wallace of Berkeley College and George Katsifikis of Wentworth Institute of Technology. The publisher of this special issue is a very special publisher, namely Routledge. So what I thought I would do for the benefit of my beloved audience is to read both from the foreword written by Victor Wallace and the introduction written by the editor, namely myself. Victor Wallace says in the special foreword that he wrote for the issue the following things. It is fitting that socialism and democracy initiates its engagement with Africa in part through a philosophical prism. Our thanks for this go to Theodros Kiros, but our appreciation runs deeper. In the anguish of reflection on the African crisis, we find etched in extreme form preoccupations that are universal. African philosophy, more than its northern academic counterparts, is steeped in preoccupation with political struggle, with the need to surmount the chaos and corruption implanted by centuries of colonial pillage. The fight to secure an independent identity has given rise to a distinctive blend of commitment to innovation with a search for what may be of value in ancient ways of doing things. The drive to find new solutions links up with a respect for scientific inquiry and a corresponding rejection of postmodernist eclecticism. At the same time, however, the continuing trauma of subjugation prompts an effort to reconnect with customs of a much earlier period. Such a process of retrieval does not have to be uncritical or anti-scientific. Indeed, it can inspire a penetrating critique of allegedly superior structures imposed from abroad. To the imperialists' notions of democracy, for example, we find thus counterposed an exploration and potential revival of pre-colonial practices of consensus.
I just want to thank Tedros enormously for his immediate generous tribute, but also to say that while I think that many of our other issues have been of high quality, I have never learned as much in editing an issue as I have in editing this one. So it's been an enormous pleasure, and I'm enormously grateful to all the contributors to the issue. Thank you.
And now, I'll treat you to a few words written by your host, Theodros Kiros. Crisis is a medical term connoting a progressive deterioration of the human body, threatening death unless a competent physician intervenes. Similarly, in the life of the African polis, crisis is a metaphor for the dysfunctionality of institutions, more specifically the state, that institution which is meant to be the blood of the citizens, their center of being. When the state fails to engage the citizens' intelligence, when it miserably violates their rights, when it also fails to deliver the common good, a crisis ensues, and the specter of revolution and revolt looms in the horizon. Such a condition calls for social movements to be the beacons of change and the harbingers of transformation. Africana philosophy, literature, literary theory, critical sociology, feminist theory, and political theory, in the deft hands of scholars and thinkers, have come together to respond to this crisis in a special issue of socialism and democracy. The special issue is this beautiful blue and yellow. This is the special issue. The African crisis, I continue, argues Abiola Irele, for example, whom you will be encountering tonight as he interacts with the audience, is most evident in the visual and literary presentation of Africa once again as the zone of non-being, presented to the world in various guises as the epitome of helplessness and anguish. The African self is novelized as an anguished non-being. The passions and goodwill that were once part of post-independence Africa quickly gave way to the gloom, pestilence, HIV/AIDS, war, and poverty characteristic of contemporary Africa. The Africa that was the center of human civilization is now the originator of HIV/AIDS, the Africa of the Iliad and the Odyssey, is now a site of perversion and of war. Endless commentaries present Rwanda, Darfur, Ethiopia, and Eritrea as places of brutality and savagery. Everything that is not amenable to change and transformation is considered.
Tedros has been able to bring together such diverse thinkers from what is an extremely diverse continent. Africa, I think, after all, is a construct. I don't need to tell you that. If I may, my mother was born in Africa, in Egypt. I'm of Greek descent, and I feel Tedros and I often kid each other with our last names. Who's the Greek among us? And, who's the African? That's a private joke, I shouldn't say that. But so it's a pleasure to meet you all. Thank you, Tedros, for editing this issue.
The next issue that you're going to see now, as the time progresses, will be introducing you to the content of the event itself. Various scholars from different parts of the world will be dissecting the human condition in Africa. Thus, for example, Kwasi Wiredu, who is not with us tonight, puts forward an Afro-optimistic view, suggesting that the African condition can perhaps be resolved